Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Jay, did you also literally wake up and roll over in bed and pick up your phone and see a news story about how the bridge that's literally 3 miles from your house just doesn't exist anymore?
No, but I was sent many a message about it, which was very interesting. Look, we'll get to the boat story. We're gonna get to it, right?
Yeah.
As Maryland is both of our birthplace. Here's the thing. DEI sunk the boat, guys. I don't know if you guys know that.
I didn't have to read the article to know. It was like as soon as I saw the notification, I was like, "Well, DEI is struck again." Clearly,
those bastards at diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh, what won't they do to teach history and reality? Yes, let's crash a boat. Let's see if they'll pay attention now. But yeah, we'll get to Republicans absolutely losing their shit on just a boat crash. That's a real tragedy. And this from the people who say we should never politicize school shootings. Let's make sure we push the crazy right away. All right. First things first, the biggest story. Trump is given a 10-day stay and a significant bond reduction in the New York fraud case.
It must kick ass to be rich in this country.
Yeah, it must also kick ass to be a rich white man in this country.
Yeah.
Very specifically. Like you just hit the American lotto at that point, right? And inherit it. You didn't even have to earn it. Oh, come on. This is easy. This is the greatest life of all time. Now, as we had reported last week, he got hit with his time was almost up to have to pay $454 million judgment,
the bond,
or the bond, and he had to pay that before he could even run the appeal, right? And time was running out as of yesterday, which was Monday, March 25th, and lo and behold, the appellate or the appeals court came out and said, hey, we love rich white men. Who doesn't? Why don't we give this guy who is notorious for not paying his bills and, as you would say, welching on bets, why don't we give him an extra 10 days and reduce the bond from $454 million, by the way, accruing $112,000 of interest every day he doesn't pay it. Why don't we reduce that down to $175 and put a hold on the interest for 10 days? Give the big man 10 days, right? Even after he went on social media and said that he has $500 million in cash.
That's the best part. This fucking dude is bragging on socials. He's like, I've got the cash. I've got all this cash, but you're not getting any of it. And they're just like, yeah, this is cool. By the way, also, like, apparently this appellate court usually only hands down their rulings or stuff like this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, like, they went out of their way to make sure that he was taken care of. To, just $450 million. Who among us, Jay, can come up with $454 million just at the drop of a hat, or like 30 days? And again, like, Trump doesn't even have to secure the whole $454 million. He just has to pay a bond company enough that they trust him, that if he for some reason like runs away to Moscow, that that they'd be able to cover the rest of it.
Right. And he couldn't do it, right? So they cut him this break. Again, I don't understand it. But, well, I do understand it. I know why they do these things. It's because the system is lopsided as fuck for rich people specifically, and white rich men even more specifically, right? Outside of all of that, everybody's like, this is fucking horseshit, oh my God. And they're right. Everyone who's mad about this is 100% correct about it. Here's the problem. The $175 million, I don't think he has that either. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't.
That's not the point.
No, it's not. It's not. And keep in mind,
I want if he's gonna be broke, I want him to be mega broke. I want him to be mega broke.
I hear you. No, look, agreed. But what I'm saying is, don't think that this reduction is the end all be all of it, right? Because, by the way, he had a hard time, and I posted about this as well. He had a hard time getting the $90 million, from a surety company for the E. Jean Carroll case. And I don't know if you know this. I went to public school, but 175 is higher than 90, right?
Almost twice as much, in fact.
Yeah. Look, see, he went to public school too. That's what I'm saying. So this is not going to be an easy situation for him. And, I've been doing a lot of research and looking at a lot of like sort of financial guys and their thoughts on this. These are not not partisan people, just looking at the numbers. And don't worry, we're going to talk about his little merger too, right? Because it's not as cut and dry as people talk about either. Mm-hmm. So he already had a hard time with the $90 million. He's going to have an equally hard time, if not harder time, obviously, with getting $175 million, especially in 10 days. The biggest issue here is that how are these people going to get their money back? And Trump is in any company that links up with him is in a lose-lose scenario. Trump's entire shtick at this point is that, hey man, let me take the loan from you. You're a surety company. Let me give you some collateral, and you pay up the bond, and then we're good, right? And then I can continue into my shenanigans. There's a lose-lose scenario for them. If he loses the presidency, he is looking at more and more legal trouble and more likely to go to jail, right? Like that. There's just, his appeal on this case is very likely to fail because he's just saying the same thing he said in the other case, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. I didn't do it. Here's the documents of you doing it. Shit. He doesn't have anything, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why his tactic is delay. So that's one thing. How are you going to collect if this guy is fucked with even more legal trouble, right? He doesn't have the money. That's clear. The other option is that he wins the presidency. How are you going to collect from the president? He's not going to pay you, dude. You think he's going to pay you when he's not president? What if he has unlimited fucking power, which he's basically talking about being a dictatorship? You think he's going to pay those bills back? No. You get mad and go on TV and say something, he'll have you killed. What the fuck? Why does he care?
My concern more comes from if he would become president. Will he pay that money back directly? Probably not. What will he do though to compensate anyone who takes care of him? Because that will give him more levers to potentially take care of those folks in a roundabout way.
But yes, I can concede that. What I would say in response to that is Trump has a tendency to hurt the people who love him or do the best by him. He tends to fuck them over quite openly, and for some reason people just can't stop running to this guy to do that. You can look at the myriad of people from his administration that were like lifelong friends and shit like that. He just knifed them in the chest. He just didn't care, right? Because he has no remorse. All of that being said, so there's no real way to collect on 175 million, let alone almost 500 million, right? If you're talking about going past the 10 days, right? Because by the way, if he goes past these 10 days and doesn't pay it, we're back to the 454 million, which you immediately owe, and there is no extension.
Also, if the appeal
do it again.
Also, if the appeal fails, he's still very much on the hook for the 454 million.
That is correct. So. That is correct. So it's not all smooth sailing. And look, there's another reason to believe that he doesn't have the money. It's Tuesday. What are you waiting on? Right? He said he had cash. Mm-hmm. He said he had almost or over he said almost 500 million in cash. Now he said that. His lawyer said he doesn't have that. If his lawyers know that he does and they lied, they're fucked. Okay? If he has the cash, why not do a bank transfer and get this shit out of your way? He doesn't have it, right? Because I guarantee you, what is the purpose of running this all the way up to the 10-day line? What's the purpose?
Well, I think he's still going to try to secure a bond. It's one thing to get turned down for a bond for $450 million. It might be more achievable to secure a bond for $175 million.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. Here's the problem with that. there is no, if you have the cash, then you should be able to get collateral. It should be easy for you to get that bond.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be. And I think if it goes to Thursday, Friday, and you hear nothing about this getting paid, he doesn't have it. Because if you have $175 million in liquid cash, one, you could just pay it. But if you don't want to pay up all of your money and like maybe that drains all your liquid assets, I understand that. But you should be able, that liquidity should be easily transferable as collateral. They should be like, well, hell yeah. And they should be able to do it.
To be fair to him too, he is also a little busy right now. I mean, he was in court today about the hush money trial, which is now beginning April 15th, and he got himself a gag order slapped on.
I saw that right away.
The judge is like, yeah, like you're not going to talk about me or my staff or any other courtroom personnel.
He talked about his daughter.
Like
he talked about his daughter.
Yeah.
He's running the exact same playbook as he ran in the last case. By the way, you want to stop this shit? Start hitting him with real fines, right? Then they do $10,000. That's no money to him. I mean, this guy's like he's broke, but he's not like us broke, right? He's a rich guy broke. So $10,000 isn't anything to him. Hit this dude with like $1 million. You do it again, it's $5 million. You do it again, it's $10 million. You know what I mean?
I don't think they can do that. I'm pretty sure there are.
Is there a number? There shouldn't be.
I'm pretty sure that there are like the judge can't just fucking go ham on how much.
Boo! This legal system sucks.
How dare you? We should elect a dictator who would just not pay attention to the legal system.
I volunteer as tribute just for like 5 days, right? Isn't that cool? Everybody, it's just one day. It's cool. Everybody's doing it. So look, I don't think that he has the liquid. I don't think he has the liquid money or liquid assets to secure a bond, even for $175 million. I don't think so. I don't think he does. I think he's in a world of trouble, and I think he is. One of the big reasons is because of how much this narrative is being pushed about this merger. I think they are hoping that for some weirdo reason that the court system is going to be like, well, he's going to have the collateral down the road type of shit. And I think that's what he's hoping on. And so we can talk about that story now, which is, TMTG, the Trump Media something group, technology group, has merged with this other company, which is with DWAC, which is basically what they refer to as a special purpose acquisition company, right? All they do is acquire companies so that they can take that company into IPO, right? Make it be able to trade publicly. What's interesting about that is these SPACs, special purpose acquisition companies, were really popular a number of years ago. And then they realize how shitty these companies actually are, and they actually do terrible. And so all of these people now, especially Trump supporters, are like, he's gonna net $3 billion. He's gonna be rich. Libs are crying. One, you still got to pay the money. I don't like. Okay, right. You have $3 billion. You still have to pay more than $500 million. Like that's your money, bro.
And again, it's not $3 billion in cash, liquid assets. It's $3 billion in
stocks.
In stocks, yeah. Like that's which is malleable, which can go up and down, and which if he decides to cash out, last I checked, there's a little thing called capital gains tax that Republicans fucking hate that you have to deal with.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Brad. There's a whole lot of roadblocks way before you get to
capital gains. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Way before, right? So one, you mentioned that because it's a stock, this stuff is malleable, right? Meaning the price goes up, price goes down, right? Last I checked, DJT, which is the new the ticker for the new company. Wow, way to hinge your entire business on Donald Trump, the guy notorious for tanking businesses, but
like the worst brands of all time. Yes.
Yeah, like okay, Trump vodka from a teetotaler. Good. Does it suck? Yeah, no kidding. So they decided, okay, we got this new company. He's on the board, right? He's one of the guys.
He's the chairman of the board.
There's only three employees, right? So it was trading at the height, I think today at like $78 or something like that, which is like good, right? Coming out of the gate, it fucking went sky high, right? $78. Yeah, it's already down to 60. Okay. This is, from what I can understand, is a day trader's fucking gold mine because it's fluctuating so much. And like you said, he is going to be given all of these shares, and that's why people are like, it's $3 billion worth or whatever. That's because they are basing that on a valuation of Truth Social being worth, I shit you not, $10 billion. This is what the people at Truth Social said. It's worth $10 billion. We're one of the biggest social media companies, right? They said that. They said that when they were saying that Truth Social was going to rival Twitter or X in monthly active users.
Well, the way that X is going right now.
They're still nowhere close.
I'm sure they're not. Man, if Truth Social is worth $10 billion, like, is TikTok worth like $1 trillion at that point? Like, if we're going by that math?
I mean, it might as well be. It's insane. I'm trying to find out how many. I just had these numbers, like the monthly users. In 2024, the monthly active users on Twitter is roughly 335 million. Mm-hmm. The estimated monthly active users on Truth Social is 600,000.
600,000?
600,000.
600,000? So basically, to contextualize that for people,
yes.
Twitter is the United States of America, and Truth Social is Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah, basically. Users estimated 600,000 monthly users as of July 2023. That is absolutely correct.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this idea of he's going to make so much money, this company is worth so much money. No, it isn't. It isn't. And keep in mind, like, I'm pretty sure Facebook is something like 1 billion like active users or something like that. It's like a crazy amount. So yeah, Facebook has a monthly active user base of 3 billion people. Truth Social, that's supposed to be in the world of these guys, is 600,000. There are TikTok accounts that have a higher amount of monthly activity than that. But these guys are worth $10 billion. So how do you think that valuation goes in reality? It's not going to hit the market and stay at those prices. $60?
Yeah. Plus, also, I'm no stockbroker, though I've traded a stock or two on Robinhood in my time. But Jay, let's assume that the board of sycophants is like, yeah, you can absolutely cash out 1/6 of your shares in the company to pay off this legal debt you have.
But by the way, that's like 80,000 shares that he had, I believe.
When 1/6 of the shares of the highest stakeholder in the company just magically disappear, Jay, is that good or bad for investor confidence on a whole?
It's a bit of a coin flip if I'm being honest. You never know what's gonna happen. Yeah. What are you doing? And so, by the way, so this is another point, right?
See Tesla 2022.
Right. The board has to sign off that he would be allowed to cash out his 80,000 shares within the first 6 months, right? Because those are special. They're like restricted shares, I believe they call them, right? Mm-hmm. Because he is one of the key principal owners of the company, he can't just pump and dump the stock and just fucking bail, right? Like that's illegal.
It's kind of against the law because it prevents people from literally doing exactly what he would need to do in order to
exactly.
Make this happen.
So he's stuck for 6 months most likely. And by the way, I believe Linda McMahon is the other person who's on the board with him.
She's one of them. Yeah, I think it's Linda McMahon and like Don Jr. I think are like the three. So
Best of luck.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that McMahon name's really carrying a lot of value these days. I'll tell you right now. So
yeah, it's like keep Vince away from this and his text messages. Yikes. Guy thinks about black penises a lot.
Are you surprised?
No.
Yeah, it's no. Yeah.
I mean, considering how many few black champions there's been in WWE history, I'm a bit surprised. Like,
prior to we're getting sidetracked. This isn't a wrestling podcast. That's for Ned's Pixels. So.
I'm just saying it's weird. So a couple of things. Just sort of the recap where he is. He has 10 days to secure a $175 million bond, right? Which he needs collateral, right? And he says that he has the cash, yet he hasn't paid it up, right? Okay, so the merger is not going to give him this immediate amount of money. The supposed $3 billion, based on the wild valuation of this stock, is predicated on a fugazi, right? Like it means nothing. It's just pulled it out of their ass. So then, and that's stuck most likely for 6 months. Where's that money coming from? You have to have some sort of collateral that a company needs to see to go, this guy is worth the investment. If you get in bed with this guy, understand that the court has a monitor. That monitor has not gone away just because there's a 10-day stay. So that monitor is watching every transaction that comes in and out of that company. So can't pull any bullshit, can't go, Saudi Arabia, save me, Russia, save me. They will notice where the money's coming from and report it to the courts immediately. Right? So foreign, money is is not a real option for him. Mm-hmm. I think he's kind of fucked. I think he's Yeah, and look, I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I thought that they were going to just let him fucking burn, but they didn't, right? I think the only way he gets out of this is if the court system decides that he gets out of this. Because at the end of the day, he has no good options. He really doesn't have any good options. And there's another thing that was sort of made apparent to me as well, which is, okay, if you take all of these options and you say, okay, he gets the money, right? Like we talked about before, they have no way of getting the money back, and you're taking a company and you're tying them to him during all this court monitoring shit that brings that company under scrutiny. They're forever tied with this case, and he has other cases coming. Why would you get in bed with this guy? So,
well, nobody legitimate would, which is why he can't secure the bond. That's the problem, and that's why we're at where we're at. So.
Yeah. So don't be so sure that this is easy for him, right? I look. I was pissed when I heard this news that he got this stay and that they've reduced the price. But the more I'm reading about this, no. And by the way, just a side note, and we'll end it here. That stock is gonna fucking crash, baby. Like it's
I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna crash, right? Because now you got all the fucking day trader Yahoo assholes, all the corporate dickbags are all excited about it, right? Because they know they're going to make money on it. By the way, if you go read Wall Street Bets, these guys are like they're fucking chomping at the bit.
Those guys broke out the good cocaine for this shit.
Oh, they're like,
they can't wait.
Let's go, right? Because they see it for what it is, right? I'm reading all this shit. Some of it I understand, some of it I don't. But they're basically like, oh, don't worry, this shit is going to tank. They're all putting puts on it, right? Basically betting for it to fail, right? Because they know.
Yeah. This is literally like this is going to be a real life version of the scene from the end of Trading Places. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So so it's at 60, right? And it's in a 24-hour market, so it could drop a little bit lower. It could go back out before stuff starts up again tomorrow. But the biggest thing to understand is all the regular Yahoos haven't gotten in yet. Not really. And when the number gets a little bit lower, that's when they're all going to be like, hell yeah, Donald Trump, I love that guy. And they're going to drive all of their fucking money into that shit. And they're going to lose all of it. Because the second people even get an inkling, that the market gets an inkling that this shit was valued incorrectly, and they kind of already know, they're letting it go all the way to the moon, and they're going to let that shit drop to the fucking ground.
Yep.
And guess what? You're going to get caught holding the bag, Republicans. You absolutely
They are like the people that know are going to try to short sell the shit out of the stock. And it's going to be fucking hilarious. So
yeah. So I love it. I'm going to give you one last statistic here. This is a paragraph from the story that we linked about the Truth Social stock merger. The S&P U.S. SPAC Index, a market index that measures 30 SPAC stocks on the U.S. exchanges, reveals similar bad news for investors. It's down 14% over the past year and 8.6% over the past 3 years. Compare that to the market overall, which is up roughly 33% over the past year and 9.9% over the past 3 years. So just comparing just these special companies that acquire businesses to take them IPO, they are doing considerably worse than the regular market because
I think
they're just pump and dump.
I saw in that same article that SPAC stocks apparently have cost investors $46 billion.
That is correct.
Overall.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
it's amazing that that's legal, but okay. Look, as long as the right people are losing the money, I'm all for it. Make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, don't get sad. Just pay attention. Just pay attention because shit's about to get crazy over the next 10 days. Boats, Brad. Boats run by diversity, equity, and inclusion.
All right, before we start, I just have to say we are going to talk about what is a tragedy in somewhat callous manners. 6 people have died from this. Another person's in serious condition. Could have been way worse. Like, it's actually a blessing that this happened at 1:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Because that bridge gets a ton of traffic. It's a bridge I've driven across countless amounts of times. Like, it's
Same.
It could have been way worse than it was. But Jay, sometimes shit just happens. Shit just happens sometimes.
It does. And actually that is the largest part of the message of this story.
Yeah.
Is that in reality, bad things happen to people. They just do. It is not always a conspiracy. Sometimes people get hurt. They're literally called accidents for a reason, right? Like, that's what the word means. It means that it's not anything on purpose. So this big cargo ship that is a Singaporean ship, I believe, which is a joint venture between Singapore and Norway, if I'm correct. And this ship is 948 feet long, which is huge. At about 1:30 in the morning, it crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore and knocked it down, right? Like Brad said, several people were injured. 6 people died as they were, likely their cars fell into the water or what have you. That's all just tragic and everything else. Sadly, this is a thing that has to be played. They have to play politics with, right? Republicans very specifically. Now, I know before I get into this, people will say, well, the left plays politics with school shootings, Jay. They always do. They always bring up policies over school shootings. That's true. They do. Here's the thing.
And in fairness,
actually could help. they're actual policies.
Not only could they help, but school shootings. You mentioned before that like this boat crash is an accident. Like the way that the boat crashes apparently the boat like lost power several times as it was pulling out of port going to the bridge, and it couldn't. And it was veering toward the bridge and couldn't stop itself. Like that, shit happens. A gun does not accidentally walk into a school and fire and kill children. That's not something that happens by accident. That's something that happens with specific intent. And to your point, if we had laws that banned the ownership or the acquisition of some of these guns to certain people, those kids would probably still be alive in those cases.
Right. So they're not apples to apples. There's very much apples to oranges in that regard. That being said, again, accidents happen. So the right has decided they're all in on this. from this is somehow Joe Biden's fault, as if he was driving the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Nancy Mace in this article says that it's Joe Biden's infrastructure bill that caused this. Again, the bridge didn't fall down. It was hit by a ship. What the fuck are you talking about? You're just making shit up. You're just yapping. Andrew Tate, famously reasonable person who definitely we should listen to about politics or anything else. Good Lord. Fucking creep. He says that it was hacked and that it was driven into the bridge on purpose, right? A la the plot from Hackers, the 1990 movie. So here's
how funny.
By the way, zero.
Here's how funny this is. So Andy, we were talking to Andy this morning in our private chat, and Andy made it like he's like the right wing loonies are already driving the conspiracy bus, and I think Andy made a joke that like I can't wait till they blame like DEI for the boat crashing into the bridge, and no sooner than before we recorded the show tonight, there's literally a Republican candidate for governor of Utah who blamed DEI for the boat crash happening because the Port of Baltimore on their commission has 2 black women of the 6 people that serve on that group. And if it was, and he said, remember, DEI equals DIE on his fucking Twitter feed.
Were the black women waving the boat into the bridge? Come on, we're black. We don't know what's happening. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about?
Like I feel like these people watch like License to Kill, and like the scene where like the Bond girl like pretends to be the harbor master and like gets on this like supply ship and just fucking crashes it into the pier so James Bond can sneak onto the ship undetected. Like I feel like they think that's what happened here.
Yeah, it's amazing the length they'll go to push their arguably very racist narratives, right? I mean, these are the same jackasses who said, "Hey, I don't want to get on a plane if I see basically a non-white man as a pilot," because a Boeing plane had to have an emergency landing that malfunctioned, and the pilot was black. Of course, it came out that the door malfunctioned. She had nothing to do with it. She landed the plane safely because she's a trained pilot. Like, because that's what they do. But, of course, when that was brought up, immediately moved topics to the next thing because they've been proven very wrong. So I'm not saying that this black woman did it and a white pilot couldn't do it. I'm saying that any trained pilot probably could have done it because they're trained to do these kind of things. That's their job. It doesn't matter what color or gender they are. That's ridiculous. And, most famously, even Candace Owens, newly fired from the Daily Wire, and on her Apology to Black People tour, it was saying, don't get me fucking started. To me, my black people, right? Like, you're not Professor X. Go sit down. She famously said, I'm scared if I don't see if I see a minority or, a non-white guy, pilot, I get terrified. Here's an idea. Take the fucking bus then. Okay, just take the bus, you asshole. So yeah, this is a seriously sad situation. I've got a couple of clips. Brad, you've not seen these?
I've not.
I believe they're both from Fox News.
Oh, of course.
Of course. And look, Brad, as usual, they're just asking questions. I don't know why you guys get so upset. They're just asking questions. This is on Fox. I don't remember who this is. But here you go. Here's a top tier fucking commentary on the bridge. Oh, what the fuck? Sorry. God damn it.
House has issued a statement on this saying that there's no indication of nefarious intent in the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The ship involved in the collapse of the bridge is 948 feet long, called the Dolly, a Singaporean flagged container. But of course, you've been talking a lot about the potential for wrongdoing or potential for foul play given the wide open border. That is why you have been so adamant. Why has the Republicans had such a hard time securing this border? The president says he's not going to take his executive action. You know that.
Well, we all have to stand together. We all have to say that it takes 60 votes to pass anything in the Senate. And so Republicans have to stand together and say, look, we're not going to do anything else unless we secure the border.
Yes, the famously porous Chesapeake Bay border crossing in Maryland. So
right, but I'm sorry. The implication here is that someone potentially. Well, let me rephrase this. Here's what they're doing. They are saying that this happened, and then they're throwing up this random other thing that's like just shady, and they're not saying it, but they're linking them together, right? This bridge collapse. Someone hit the bridge with a boat. That's a real tragedy. A lot of people are saying
Singaporean flag.
Yeah, right. A lot of people are saying that because of the border, that's why we're in danger. Did someone cross the border and get into a boat and crash it? Because that is basically what you're implying, which is insane.
I was gonna say before you played the clip that I'm surprised that they didn't blame the boat crash on like the gun violence in Baltimore. Like of course Baltimore is a crime-ridden city, so naturally that a boat would collapse the Key Bridge. It was an inevitable outcome. This is how these things escalate. One day you're shooting people in the streets. The next day you're collapsing bridges.
I mean, it's the Fight Club level escalation, right? Like you start doing little shit, and then eventually you just get into full-on domestic terrorism. What are you talking about? So here's another one. This is from Newsmax. Oh, this is gonna be super crazy. So check this one out.
What kind of questions do you want to see answered, Matt?
Well, as I said, you look at our critical infrastructure, and I'm one of these people that believes we've never fully come out of all the lockdowns and the COVID issues. And you can look at whether you look at our air traffic controllers, where we have critical mission problems with filling slots. Mm-hmm. I'm no expert on what's going on the seas, but all Correct. I would say is that if you talk to employers in America, they'll tell you that filling slots with employees who aren't drug-addled is a very huge problem. So I'm making no specific charges here because we don't know.
Right.
But, anybody who flies in America can see that you're constantly waiting on a tarmac somewhere for some crew to show up. There's more maintenance problems than we've ever had, which I think are euphemisms for the problems that I've described. And, sometimes they can't even get the jet bridge to the plane, or at least it seems like that seems to be happening 20% of the time. So with all of our critical infrastructure, we are having these issues, and we have to kind of wake up as a country and deal with the fact that we have too many people who aren't ready to do the job. And it
What? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Again, this is a Singaporean ship. This is a joint venture with Singapore and Norway. You're just yapping. What are you even saying right now?
I'm not going to lie. The way that Match Slap started that soliloquy, I thought he was going to blame the bridge collapse on COVID, like as if like the bridge got COVID and it has now a weakened immune system, and we should have tested the vaccines on bridges because that would have made sure that the bridge was able to stand tall against a ship ramming it.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but Bridges had a lot of comorbidities that have been exposed during COVID. Like, bro, what are you even talking about right now? What are you even talking about? Oh, they're drug-addled, blah, blah. Again, this is a Singaporean ship in a joint venture with Norway. What does that have to do with Americans at all? What does it have to do with them? Like Americans didn't crash the ship into the bridge. Americans died because of that accident, but they didn't crash the ship. So what the hell are you talking about? Alex Jones, I'm not going to play a clip of him because he's in You fucking moron. But Alex Jones says that this is the start of World War III.
Great. Awesome.
With Singapore and Norway? Who are we fighting? What are you talking about?
This is a TikTok. It's a TikTok. Right. It's a TikTok false flag operation to try and get Congress to settle down.
Yeah, we tried to ban TikTok, which is a Singaporean company. They were like, not on our watch, so they decided to ram a ship
take down
to take
that
a
bridge.
down.
Take down that bridge. We cannot let this stand.
Yeah. Look, we are going to have teenagers dancing on our app until the end of time. We will not go quietly into the night. Like, take them down. Like, what are you talking about, dude? It's silliness. It's silliness. But this is just this week in deeply unserious people. Like, that's all it is. None of these guys are serious about any of this shit. They're utterly ridiculous. And if they are serious about it, they're goddamn morons. They're just goddamn morons. Yeah. Oh, it's DEI. Why are we letting minorities drive boats or whatever? Only American ships should be shipping in and out of America from around the world. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And people will watch this shit and let their brains be poisoned by it, and then we'll go out there and be like, yeah, I think it's a really good idea to vote for these people again.
Well, this is the end result. Like this is the inevitable outcome of letting literally everybody have a megaphone to spout whatever nonsense comes into their brains out to the general public. And this is what happens. Like, your fucking brain gets rotted because you become like Aaron Rodgers Jr. or Joe Rogan and hear everything and think that everything that you hear, no matter how ridiculous it is, has at least a kernel of merit and is worth investigating because maybe we're just not thinking about it the right way. No, maybe you are, and the person saying these things is just a fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually the more likely outcome in these scenarios. So,
but just unbelievable. Like, it's just really unbelievable that. Like, I'm not surprised of the conspiracy theories from like the like wackadoos, right? Like, of course, it's always a conspiracy theory. But Maria Bartiromo is supposed to be. I mean, she's a right wing jackass too, but she's supposed to come off as being somewhat of a normal brained person.
Now, and again, I don't blame Rick Scott for saying silly things because he's an alien, so he hasn't been on this planet that long, so he might not understand. So, like, I get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
but you're right. Like, Maria Bartiromo should have reined him in for sure. So
yeah, I'm excited for the reboot of Third Rock from the Sun, starring Rick Scott, Ted Cruz, and some other weird Republican who doesn't know how to talk to human beings. It's gonna be great.
George Santos.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, he can. I'm trying to think who would be the French steward. I think it's Rick
Ted Cruz.
Scott.
Ted Cruz is the French steward. Yeah. Rick Scott is the Lithgow. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Brad's like, I've thought about this intently.
Yeah.
My casting is immaculate. Yeah. I'm not mad at that.
Just next time you get chastised by a right winger for politicizing school shootings, just remind them that a lot of their kin blamed a boat accident on DEI. Just throwing that out there. So,
look, they're just asking questions, Brad. They're just asking questions. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. Next up, this is a fun story. As I wrote, a lesson in nonsensical political attacking and why your narratives can hurt you. Very interesting. The GOP groups privately warn against all-in Biden attacks. This is why I don't buy into the narrative that the Republican Party is gonna fucking go after Biden and tear him up no, because it's a backlash on them. Because people are starting to realize, especially after that State of the Union, maybe, just maybe, your bullshit wasn't accurate, right? So the Republican Party committee, a Republican Party committee is privately warning its candidates that just hitting President Biden will be insufficient to win in November. Why? Because Joe Biden is not a poison to down ballot candidates, right? So all of these state races and local races, where they're trying to hit Biden and be like, oh, we're just going to paint every Democrat being with Joe Biden. It's not working because people are like, that's fine. He's doing work. We like him. And Republicans, at least their strategists, are kind of like, yeah, you guys got to kind of pay attention to that, right? And they're not learning this lesson. Meanwhile, the Trump administration or Trump team is going all in on Biden and trying to make it a referendum on Biden.
I was going to say, bad news for us is that he's going to be running against the most disciplined political candidate that we've ever seen in our lifetimes.
100%, right?
Message discipline off the charts.
No, there's nobody's more disciplined, right? As he would say.
I also think this is less of a Biden, like, don't attack Biden because Biden's not as unpopular as you think he is referendum. Also, as much as it is a, hey, people like voting for things, right? Like, people like voting for a policy agenda. People like voting for ideas. People like voting for your plan of what you want to do for the country. And that needs to go beyond build a wall or repeal the ACA or whatever.
That is correct. Here's the problem. They don't have anything.
that is the core problem, which is why they resort to attacking Democrats.
Yep. Quote, steer clear of making the election a singular referendum on Joe Biden. The memo advised against using Biden as your crutch and said campaigns need to make an affirmative case for GOP policies. There you go. Between the lines here, quote, we must learn from the missteps of the 2022 cycle and not solely target Joe Biden in our campaign messaging. That's another thing that is interesting, right? And it's a race it's an election that people have quickly forgotten about. I kind of got into it with this guy on TikTok. I ended up just blocking him because okay, you're just saying shit that I didn't even say, and that irritates the shit out of me. But he was basically like, Trump's going to win in 2024. I said, I don't think he is. And he says, oh, you're just speculating. I said, well, we're both speculating. I'm not Madam Web. I can't see the future 4 minutes into the future, dum-dum. So, like, I am speculating, but I'm not speculating based on polling. I'm speculating based on a number of real-world things, right? Which I laid out, like, boomers are dying at a fucking clip, which are mostly Republicans. The other one that I named was that Biden is polling at, or not polling, but Biden has captured 90 to 95% in every primary race he's run. Meanwhile, Trump has not cracked 60%. When he's even only going up against Nikki Haley, right? And he goes, well, everybody said that Hillary was going to win. And I said, okay, everyone said Trump was going to win in 2020. What are we doing right now? Like, you're just saying shit. Like, you're just saying shit. And this is the thing and I bring that up for this point. Quote, we must learn the missteps of the 2022 cycle. Hey, remember what they said in 2022? That there was going to be a red wave. There was a red tsunami. A red tsunami. My God. That's bigger than a wave, for God's sake, right?
That's right.
A red tsunami. But
and instead, as we said, they had a red spotting, as I think we put it.
It's a really unfortunate way of putting that, but it seems to be accurate. Jesus Christ. We are children. So... But people forget that because that was when they tried to make that entire race a referendum on Joe Biden. And they paid for it. And they also forgot what I'm going to mention here, which is that abortion was a big fucking deal during that race, right? Because this guy, Duncan, who works for the Republicans, Duncan also advised Republicans how to navigate IVF procedures following the political backlash the past month in response to the Alabama Supreme Court ruling that paused IVF treatments across the state. Voters are 58% more likely to support a candidate that voted for common sense protections for doctors and fertility clinics who assist patients and families in having children. Bingo. They realize, or this guy realizes.
That guy realizes.
Yeah, we'll see if the rest of the party realizes.
No, I know they don't, because in the wake of the news of the Alabama IVF clinics like stopping procedures when their abortion law got put into place, Remember, they asked all the Republicans in the House. They're like, "Oh, what about IVF?" And the Republicans like, "Oh, we got to protect IVF." Like, yeah, IVF's awesome. And then Tammy Duckworth put a bill on the floor of the Senate that said, "Hey, let's codify this and let's make a federal protection for IVF." The Republicans were like, "Nah, we're good.
Yeah,
we're okay."
Yeah. I believe 100 Republicans in the House were like, "Nope, absolutely not. I'm out." So this guy seems to realize that. And by the way, Kellyanne Conway also realizes it. Remember, we talked about that story a couple of weeks ago, too. You can't run on the abortion ban, the thought of the abortion ban. Keep in mind, we talked about last week, Trump considering being very open about supporting a 15-week national abortion ban.
16-week. He likes the even number.
Oh, sorry.
Literally his reason, by the way, for wanting to go to 16 instead of 15 is because he likes even numbers better. I'm not kidding. I'm not. Like I'm being dead serious. He fucking said that.
He's so stupid. He's so stupid. He is a big, dumb person. But you have that looming possibility that he supports an abortion ban. Again, very, very disciplined guy. Hey, you should probably not say that. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it loudly. I'm going to say it at every phone.
I won't say it. I promise. Get this teleprompter out of here. So yeah, I was thinking about a 16-week abortion ban. Like he's literally going to Rick James the fucking abortion discussion when he's on the campaign trail. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, and look, he's gonna fuck the Republican Party over it. Good. So all of that, these guys realize that the narratives on television about like Republicans going after Biden is afraid, no, they're afraid of him. These are the stories that actually matter. That's why narratives don't matter. Right? When people go, "Oh, Trump's going to win because," these are the realities. When you have people who are a part of his name is D. Duncan, who is the president of the Republican State Leadership Committee. He's the guy handling all of the Republican state races. He's telling you this shit doesn't work. If he's telling you and he's saying don't attack Biden because if you make it a referendum on Biden, the Democrats, and likely Biden will win. Right? And by the way, that's counter narrative to politics per usual. Normally, if you are going up against an incumbent, what your goal is, yeah, you push your policies. That's obvious. But you do try to make it a referendum so that you can point out all the things that they've done wrong. The problem is Democrats aren't moving on it, right? And Republicans are not that convinced either. They can make a narrative about it, but they're not actually that convinced about it. So again, when you say Trump is going to win because I point to stories like this. These guys are telling you they're actually terrified of making it about Biden. Oh, the economy is so bad and everything else. But they're terrified to keep pointing that shit out. There's a reason
and again, polls are always a lagging indicator of public opinion. Like, you know what I mean? So, and you're starting to see the current polling start to shift towards a more favorable view of Biden when it comes to things like the economy and stuff like that. Now, again, polling is not prediction. It is it is an assessment of where we currently are. But again, realize that the White House really hasn't even done a whole lot yet to really tout like the accomplishments of the administration recently. Like the State of the Union was kind of like step one for that. You're going to be hearing a whole lot more of that as time goes along. And you're going to be hearing Democrats, and especially in other areas, like you're going to have Democrats that are fighting to keep purple seats that are be like, hey, like, that infrastructure money that we brought in, like, yeah, that was because of me. And you're going to have Democrats running in Republicans like, hey, that infrastructure money you gave in? Hey, that guy had fucking nothing to do with it. You want to see a little bit more of that? Vote for me. Yeah. And we'll get these fucking roads fixed, and we'll get these fucking bridges repaired and all this other shit.
Yeah. It's telling. And these are the type of stories you should pay attention to. If you really want to understand where things really are, when you start to hear from the sort of background guys and the background women on campaigns and in leadership in the RNC, or in this case, the Republican state legislation or legislator group or whatever it was called, leadership council or whatever, when those guys are telling you what to focus on and what not to focus on, which is even more important, that's what they're actually afraid of. And so all this idea of like, oh, they don't want any part of this the Trump trains are coming. No, they're afraid that Trump train is not coming. Dude, they're very much afraid of it. And they should be. Because, like you said, polling is a lagging indicator. And those guys do internal polling, right? That's why he had percentages, right, that he could point to. They do internal polling. They know what it looks like, too, right? And that's why, by the way, that's another reason, just as a quick side note, that's why the big lie doesn't make sense either. Because when they, days up into that election in 2020, there were reports of internal polling for Republicans that looked bad. Their internal polling looked bad. Not the stuff that they sent out, but their internal shit. They knew it didn't look good. And then that article, scuttle, right? But they knew it didn't look good. And if Democrats in their internal polling see something going bad, and you hear them say, we can't do this with Republicans, it's because they're legitimately afraid of that thing. Right? Now, that doesn't make them necessarily 100% right, but it makes it a legitimate concern inside the party. And in this case, Republicans are terrified. So,
well, and the other thing too, and just to put a bow on this discussion, Democrat strategists also seem just smarter in general from a strategy standpoint. Like, for example, and I'll give you a for example. Well, I mean, obviously it's obvious, but like as a for example, like for the border, right? Like they're not trying to win the debate on the border against Republicans. Like they're trying to wrestle it to a draw because they're not stupid enough to think that credibly Democrats will be taken more seriously on the border than Republicans will, because it's been a traditionally Republican-driven issue. But if you can fight it to a stalemate, you can essentially neutralize that issue as part of the campaign. And that's smart. Right. Like, don't try to win battles that you can't win. Win battles that you can win, and just try to neutralize the stuff that you can't win.
Right. You take those arguments off the table. And look, to his political credit, that's why Trump killed that border deal. Because he knows that if one of the reasons he won in 2016 was that he kept hammering the border, hammering the border. And for conservatives, the idea of Mexicans, come streaming across the fucking border is the most terrifying thing to them. And that gets the fucking red meat in their dumb heads all amped up, and they want to go and they want to vote. So he doesn't want that deal. Like, he may turn around and go, I support this deal 100% if I was president, if he won, God forbid. And he'd be like, I don't think it was a smart idea, though, because you could have done it, and you would have given Democrats something to run on as far as that goes. But you could have had Republicans like, this is all we could get from Democrats. Like, this doesn't go far enough. Like, we need to go further. And you could have made it a plus issue for you in that sense. Instead, you're the bad guy because everyone knows who to blame for the thing for it not happening in the first place. Yeah, I mean, that could have definitely been a strategy. I just think he would rather not say we can do more instead of saying they did nothing. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like the difference between pushing your policies versus shitting on the guy for not doing something. And I think that resonates more. And I think his base is not going to do the research to realize that he absolutely tanked it. Everybody else knows because they. Well,
but he said they don't have to do the research. Like, literally, Republican Congress people who supported the bill were out here being like, it's because of Trump that this failed. Like Trump called in the audible. So,
I mean, look, it's cute that you think they'll remember that. Not interested in facts. Like, this guy said, I mean, they listen to Trump say stuff and they go, he didn't say that. I'm like, here's a video. It's right here. It's in 4K. You can see all of his chins right there. It'll be interesting to see how Republicans, especially on the state races and all the down ballot races, handle this going forward. My favorite topic ever. Dude, I fucking told you. Dude, Brad fucking told you. Scuttle, scuttle, scuttle. The impeachment is dead. It's over. The impeachment of Joe Biden is not fucking happening. James Comer, the guy who seemed to push this the hardest and who seems to be in this picture describing the size of Hunter Biden's penis. It's this big. I've seen it. Marjorie Taylor-Greene keeps showing it to me. It's this big. It's trying. Representative James Comer has finally given up on trying to impeach Joe Biden, but he's trying to make it seem like it was his plan all along. After more than a year of insisting that the president and his family are guilty of corruption, Republicans have yet to produce any evidence of Biden's wrongdoing. It's kind of a bit of a point, right? gonna kind of have to really nail him on the crimes specifically. Many GOP lawmakers are starting to back away from the impeachment effort, Ken Buck being one of them, admitting that they likely don't have the votes to pass articles of impeachment. Comer says, and this is just unbelievably hypocritical, quote, it's clear that Democrats will choose their party over their country and the truth at every turn. They should be ashamed of themselves. That's why I'm preparing criminal referrals as a culmination of my investigation. So one, the Democrats choose party over country? Bro, do you remember the 2 impeachments that Trump was subjected to? Okay, literally one because of January 6th, and they were like, we can't be bothered to convict.
He's not even the president anymore. Get out of here.
Forget it. You want to bar him from assuming office again? Can't be bothered to do that either. Party over country. Can't be bothered. And then he says, that's why I'm preparing criminal referrals as a culmination of my investigation. That part is interesting, right? Because it's like, whoa, that's worse than an impeachment. No. What that means is I couldn't get him because he had said he wanted to impeach Joe Biden and remove him from office. Now, I'm just going to do some criminal referrals. We'll see what the DOJ does. Hopefully, when Donald Trump wins the presidency, he will then have the DOJ go after the Biden crime family. And if that doesn't happen and Biden gets reelected, scuttle, what could I do? Right?
Yeah.
That's what he said.
This, by the way, came after. So they had a hearing last week, and they had a couple witnesses, quote unquote. One of them being Lev Parnas. Lev Parnas, famously of the Rudy Giuliani gang, who went to Ukraine to try to get dirt on Biden back. One of the causes of the first impeachment, if you guys recall correctly. And there were viral clips that went around of Lev Parnas stating unequivocally that the reason that they brought back no evidence of Joe Biden's involvement in any crime related to his son is because there is no evidence. And then literally proceeded to rattle off the people who basically exonerated Joe Biden as they went over there to investigate, including the prosecutor that Joe Biden is accused by the Republicans of trying to remove because he was looking into stuff going on at Burisma, which is absolutely not the case. Even that prosecutor is Joe Biden has nothing to do with this at all.
Again,
and that was pretty embarrassing for Republicans to have their own fucking witness. Or actually, no, I guess he was a Democratic witness in this hearing, but but to have that happen, good job, job, guys.
And look,
I have a very serious question for you about this.
Yes,
if you were to line them up next to each other, face to face, which person just looks dumber, James Comer or Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson?
Let me look at Ron Johnson's dumb face again. No. This is easy work. It's Ron Johnson.
Okay. I tend to agree as well, but James Comer does look cartoonishly stupid in every picture that I see him in.
Ron Johnson looks like he would be one of the weird characters that shows up on the Andy Griffith show. And you're always like, oh, this fucking guy again. He's like, I'm the crazy dentist. Oh.
By the way, I mentioned Ron Johnson because Lev Parnas was actually the guy you should be investigating is fucking Ron. It's fucking Ron Johnson. This dude spouts off Russian disinformation like they owe him money or something like that, because they probably do.
Right, exactly. Yeah, look, I appreciated. Look, Lev Parnas is not getting a redemption arc. Okay, that's not happening. No. Welcome to the resistance, Lev Parnas. What a wild choice. But I love it. I love that these guys, once they get from under the boot of all of the bullshit, all of a sudden the scales fall from their eyes, as the Bible would say. I don't know. I don't believe in any of that, but I think that's what it says in the back. they can see, right? They suddenly can tell the truth about these things, and they recognize the realities of these situations. So James Comer, yeah, and I know that's a perfect segue.
I was about to say, I thought you were brilliantly segueing into the next story. So.
Yes. And so yeah, let's go right to it. Ronna McDaniel now says Biden won the 2020 race fair and square. Now that she's been ceremoniously kicked the fuck out of the RNC and is an NBC contributor. But wait, there's more.
Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah. Ronna McDaniel was like, she's just fucking doing the boot scooting boogie right on over to NBC. Hey guys, I'm here now and I believe in reality. And they were like, that's cool. And everybody at NBC was like, you fucking suck, you gaslighting goblin. Get the fuck out of here. And the backlash was so bad at NBC from all their on-air talent. Even Chuck Todd, the worst guy in news, had a fucking absolute win when he called that shit out on TV and said that his bosses another, I forget who the woman was.
Kristen Welker, yeah.
Kristen Welker, who interviewed Ronna McDaniel, that they owed her an apology because this Ronna McDaniel is only saying these things now, telling the truth because she's being paid. And that she had been gaslighting and lying about the election and all of these other things for so long. And everybody at the RNC and all these places have been lying every time they get interviewed for so long. But now they can see the truth once they get fired or leave this place. And the backlash was so bad that NBC fired Ronna McDaniel, today? They cut her contract. Done.
Well, so according to Rachel Maddow during her A-block last night, they were told internally that she would not be appearing on the airways. And executives were like fighting back against that story and saying, oh, well, it's up to the on-air people. And Rachel Maddow was like, I know they're pushing back against that. I'm telling you that they told us unequivocally she was not going to be appearing on there.
What are you going to do? You're going to fire Rachel Maddow? No,
right.
No,
Like how bad did you fuck up that your people had just put you on, had no problem putting you on blast immediately. Everyone did it, which awesome of NBC. You would never see people at Fox do that ever.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. It says a lot about NBC to take that hit, right? You got to take that hit publicly and just he's got to eat this. Just shut the fuck up. He's got to eat it. But it says more about the people that they hired, right? Mm-hmm. Because those people actually have integrity, right? You would see everybody at Fox News circling, they would circle the wagons and be like, no, the corporation's correct. The corporation's correct. It's always correct. She's right, blah, 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 blah. It wouldn't matter. NBC has to face a wrath because they hire people with intelligent, independent thought processes. And they're not just fucking cogs. They actually believe the shit they're saying. And when it runs up, when something happens, even inside their own company, and it runs up against their own moral code, they call it out. And look, you got to give Chuck Todd all the credit in the world for that shit. Because he didn't say it on some podcast or whatever. He said that shit on air on a Sunday show, dude. When people are watching, when people are watching the fucking news. And he's like, look, man, this is bullshit. My boss, our boss says, they owe you an apology. So yeah. I love it.
And by the way, funnily enough, Ronna McDaniel being interviewed by Kristen Welker actually was kind of useful because Kristen Welker pushed back on her, asking these questions like, was Biden legitimately elected? Do you agree with the violence on January 6th? Do you think Trump should pardon these people? Yada, yada, yada. And she, of course, was saying all the right things now that she can. Mm-hmm. And Kristen Welker rightly asked her, why is it that it took you till now? You used to carry water for Donald Trump. Why are you waiting till now to concede all these things? And Ronna McDaniel said, and I quote, when you're the RNC chair, you kind of take one for the whole team. A tacit admission that if you're the Republican chair, it's part of the job description to just fucking lie and gaslight and deny reality because that's what the Republican people, that's what Republicans need you to do. If you are a sane person, if you're a Republican who's a sane person, and you see that comment, why would you believe anything they tell you ever again?
That's fair. Now, I'll push back a little bit on that. What's the difference between that and the press secretary for the White House.
It's a fair question. I
don't believe
think the
she
press
believes every single thing that she says either.
I think that you can at least say that the things that come from the podium in the White House at least exist in the realm of reality. At least
that's a big difference. You're
typically when Karine Jean-Pierre or Jem Psaki or whoever's up there is saying whatever they are, very rarely are they going to say something that you can directly refute with facts that are on the record. You know what I mean? Like certainly they're up there spinning, but spin is not the same thing as just, again, lying about the facts in evidence in front of you.
That's correct. I was just curious.
So,
I mean, look, I think there is a level of similarity there. But yeah, I mean, just saying that the election was rigged and it's fucking horseshit, and then coming out and being like, yeah, well, I thought it was fair and square. I mean, there are some problems with it. Because that's what she said.
You can say, I mean, again, you can say the election's rigged in December 2020 while you're fighting court cases. When you lose 60 out of 61 cases, I believe that's the end of your the election is rigged controversy at that point. Right. Like you said your piece, it was adjudicated, you lost, election's over. Joe Biden's the president.
Right. So here's the other part of the story before we move on. One of McDaniel's lines she's been saying recently is McDaniel's said it remained a, quote, a concern for her that Pennsylvania could go from recording 260,000 mail-in ballots for Trump's Oval Office victory in 2016 to 2.6 million in 2020. I hate when people say things without context. It is the worst type of thing to do.
Jay, I'm just drawing a blank. Like, what happened? What happened in 2020 that would have accounted for such a drastic increase in the amount of mail-in ballots in a presidential election? A feat that, or like a civic endeavor that usually requires you to stand in lines surrounded by many people in a public place. I'm just drawing a blank as to what happened. What happened there?
No one knows, bro. Know. No one remembers. like you say that out loud, and everyone goes, "Yeah, there was a pandemic. There was a pandemic. What are you talking about?" It's like saying, Warner Brothers released only 5 major streaming movies streaming on their app in 2016. They only released 5. Why is it that they released 25 or 35 in 2020? What could have happened? Yeah, people weren't going to the theater because of COVID, man. Why do you pretend like you don't know that? That line alone should have gotten her fired from NBC because you're dumb. You're dumb. That's it. You don't get to go on TV and say anything because you're not very smart. Or you think everyone listening to you is as dumb as you look. What the fuck kind of comment is that? Oh, what could have happened? I don't even know, guys. You don't know? What are you, a fucking moron? Or you think we're fucking morons? But Republicans go, I think I might be a fucking moron. You might be right about that. What did happen? Bro, it was fucking 4 years ago.
It was a conspiracy. DEI caused all the mail-in ballots.
That a lot of people don't know this, but DEI and Dr. Fauci teamed up for the great global pandemic conspiracy. Jesus Christ! Stop pretending to be dumb. You can't be that dumb. But the reality is she knows what the reason is, right? She's not really stupid. She knows what the reason is, but she knows her constituents will not research the shit. They will not think about it. They just go, buh, 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 and they just repeat it like a bunch of automatons. It's insane to me. Like, you should be, the second someone heard you say that, like, you can't work here. You can't work here. You don't get to work here because I'm not sure that you know how to tie your shoes on your own. Or you think all of our viewers are fucking morons?
I mean, I have bad news for you. It just occurred to me something that actually completely undermines everything we said here. Doctor starts with a D. Anthony is long for Tony, right? Which kind of sounds like it's like Ted. It's a name like Ted. And what is people named Ted? What's their full name usually? It's Edward. E, and then Fauci ends with an I. DEI. We cracked it. Deep state plant.
Dude, that's a Glenn Beck chalkboard one if I've ever fucking heard. Is like, and flip the board over. Who's there?
Right.
Obama did it. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are we talking about right now? Jesus Christ! Amazing. What could have possibly happened? I don't know, Ronna. I don't know. God damn! Get the fuck out of here. Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.